James will get you too. So because there's the.
Do you need student IDs also?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, need student numbers. Okay.
Okay. So in the settings for your project, you're going to have an identifier. That's the name of your repository.
Okay.
So this is J Archer Test, which I set up here just for practice. Now, to go ahead and pull down, remember we said there was a central repository and everybody has their own working copy. To get a copy of what's in the repository, I go ahead and right-click here, and with Tortoise SVN, you can perform what's called, well, it looks like it's here. It's called a subversion checkout. Okay. Once again, you'd have to type commands like this if you're on the command line, which is a pain. But with Subversion, you just type this here, and then all I need is the URL of the repository. In this case, the URL is this: HTTPS, not just HTTP, it's a secure connection, on Volgin. And by the way, I'm going to give you guys these URLs. Volgin is where Redmine is. So you go volgin.highline.edu/svn/your team name or your project name. So have you guys figured out the name of what you're calling your game?
Yeah.
Eternity Bridge. So so make sure to leave that in the list somewhere too, and I'll make sure to set up your group like that.
Get called with little letters, just so you know.
The what?
His little letters.
Give us
Okay. Riley, just videotape.
Yeah, keep in mind, I can, if you guys want this, I can send a lot of the little details out on like an email.
That'd be great.
So you say /subversion, then the name of your group. Yours will be Eternity Bridge or whatever you said it was, and then but this is JR2 Test. Let me go back here. JR2 Test, right? And that's at the end there. And then I go ahead and click OK. Give it a second. Assuming I type my information correctly, notice it pulls JR2 Test here, and it pulls down whatever files are in that repository. It looks like I have some, I don't know, junk values here, whatever's in this file. In fact, this may just be empty. This is interesting. No, here we go. So I have some files here in my directory, and so what I can do once I've done that, okay, I pull down all the recent changes, is I can go ahead and make a change. So once I did this, imagine somebody's been working on this for a month, and there are 100 files in there, all the files you guys are working on. Anybody who's part of this project can use Tortoise SVN, and enter your information. You may have to log in there, and you'll go ahead and enter that URL, and boom, you can pull down all these changes, and you'll have your project here. You can go into your project folders and make a change. And this is some website junk files. But let's say I wanted to create some type of new Word document. We'll call this game rules.docx. Now, this may be a code file. In this case, it's just a Word doc. So let's say I wanted to go ahead and add that here. I could go ahead and add some changes and say Mario jumps at most 10 meters. Actually, that's crazy. 10 feet. And I'll go ahead and save my document. I'll go ahead and close it. So we have some type of file I'm going to add in there. Most likely you'll be inside the Unity framework, inside managing your project, and you'll just edit your files there. Now, if I want to save my files to the repository, saving my files, I can go ahead, right-click this folder, and in here you're going to see Tortoise SVN, and where is it? My status. Actually, let me try to go into my log here and see if I can see the changes. That's not what I want. Sorry guys, 1 second, let me find this. It's been a little bit, I've been doing this on the command line a lot lately. Here we go. This is the one you want. Yes. So here we go. So if you right-click this, go to the menu here for Tortoise SVN, you can click Check for Modifications. And this says, what have I changed? What have I made or added to the files that I pulled from the repository that's new? So if I click Test for Modifications, notice here you'll have the files that you've changed. Okay. Notice here it says non-version. If you want to add that file, you should just be able to right-click and add it. Okay. So right-click and say Add, and it'll say Added. And then what you want to go ahead and do is commit. So you'll need to add any files that you haven't added already, and then I can right-click this again, and I can go ahead and commit any files that I want. And notice when I go to commit, by the way, if you just go to commit to, it'll pull the files up down here. When I go to commit, that says Save My Changes to the repository. Here I have all the files that I added or changed. Okay, and then usually you want to give a message here. You write this down in your notes. You always want to leave a message. If you don't leave a message, nobody's going to know why you changed your file. So here I'll say I added the game rules file, and I added a rule for Mario in my game, right? So that's what I added. But you want to be kind of a little bit verbose, concise, but verbose. You know, you say a little bit about what you did, be clear, right? And then if I go ahead and click OK, this is going to push the changes from my local version, my working copy that's on this laptop, to the NED server, or sorry, the Volgen server that has your the repository. Exactly. Yeah. And so what you can do, if anybody else has a laptop here at this point, what you could do is you could pull down Tortoise and you could pull down the changes I just uploaded. Okay.
I got it.
Now that's adding a file. I could also go through and I could edit a file. So let's say I'm another person now on another laptop, right? And I go ahead and say, okay, no, that's not the case. I want Mario to jump at most 8 feet. We decide that's not the rule that we want. Imagine it's a really complex file, lots of rules, right?
Yep.
So I make a change. I don't like that. I then come back here after I make that change. I right-click, and if I go commit, notice it'll say this is, I make some room here. It will tell you that this file has been modified. At this point, when it's been modified or added, nobody else can see the file yet. Okay, but what I need to go ahead and do, I need to commit my changes. So we say commit, and I'll say I changed the height of Mario's jump to 8 feet rather than 10. You just say what you changed and why you changed it. I click OK, and what happened is I originally added a file, I made a change to that file. Both versions of that file are stored inside that repository now. You can look at old versions of the file, you can look at the most new version of the file. And so what can happen is if you go somewhere else, let's say I'm in another folder. Let's say I just create a new folder here on my desktop. Go somewhere else, imagine maybe I'm on another person's laptop. I go into this folder, and I right-click here, and I'm a new person on a different machine, and I say SVN check it out. I want to check out this same folder, so I click OK, check it out. It will pull down all those changes, all those files and folders, and if I go down here and I double-click this, it has the most recent changes.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Okay. So now I'm in 2 folders, right? I'm in this new folder, I'm in the other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these both up. And we're going to watch how one can be inconsistent or the other one be inconsistent. So here's the desktop folder. Here's the new folder on the desktop, right? So 2 different folders. And now I can go ahead and say, nope. I need to make a rule for Luigi, I can't spell, jumps at most 6 feet, whatever this is. I change, I save my file, I save it. I come over and open up the same file in a different working copy, right? And I double click it. And my files aren't synced. They're not synced automatically.
Right.
I have changes in my, imagine these are 2 different machines, right? On my machine, I made changes to my local copy, but I need to push those to the working copy. So what I do, once again...
Even once you push them, you still need to have, the other person needs to pull them
down.
down.
And I'm going to show you that. So let me close both of these. Let me right-click and commit that last change. And I'll say, once again, it shows the modified file. And there could be dozens of files in here. I'm going to say... added rules for Luigi. Okay.
Yeah, if y'all know how to work with a version control system, y'all are way ahead of the game.
So I'll pull both of these up again. This is the version I just committed. Once again, if I do this, this is not going to have any of the changes still. So what you need to do to pull down the most recent changes from the repo is you need to right-click the file that has your repo and run what's called an update. Update says pull the most recent changes. Okay. So if I run update here, notice it will pull down that file, gamerules.docx, and notice it has this number called a revision. The revision is the number of commits that you've made. So at this point, I've committed 10 changes to my repository. The number keeps going up, right? The next time somebody commits, it'll go to 11, then to 12, so forth and so on. And so this was at revision, I think, 8, and now it's at 10, and it has my most recent changes.
Now, what was that called again? I'm sorry.
Right-click and say SVN update.
SVN update.
So commit is basically save.
Update is get the recent changes.
Yeah, recent changes.
Yep. And then here, if I go ahead and load up the folder on the right now and go ahead and double click this file, it has the changes.
Okay, great.
Now, keep in mind, the changes you guys are going to have are going to be big and sophisticated and large
right.
files, right? But no matter what it is, this is just a small microcosm example of what it will look like
yeah.
with lots of files.
Yep.
It's simple.
Yep. So that's the version now. Now, once in a while, you will you'll have it to where two files are edited at the same time. So let me show you an example of this. So let's say I go ahead and change this, and I say the Goomba jumps at most 3 feet.
Man, that's a powerful Goomba.
I
It
know.
can jump at all.
Yeah.
And then I'll open up the one on the other side. So we have two different copies of the same file. And here I'll say, which one was the Goomba? That was the little brown.
That was the little brown
one.
guy.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the Koopa that jumps.
Yeah.
Goomba.
Jumps
Oh my
at
God.
most
Okay.
1 foot. So we change it here because we say no way he's going to jump a lot, right? I save both of these files, okay? And then what I try to do is I try to
They
commit.
fly. Flying is
Oh my lord, enough with the Goombas.
Goombas are great. What are you talking about?
So I'll take one of these changes, let's say the one on the left, and I'm going to go ahead and commit this change. So I'll say commit. Added a rule for Goombas. Save. There you go. At revision 11. And then I'm going to try to save my second version. Now we're trying to edit the same file. Somebody made a save to the same file, in fact the same line on that file, and I'm going to save this also. And I'm going to say, oops, I accidentally added a rule for Goombas also. And I save, and this should give me an error.
Huh.
Saying the commit failed. It says my version of the document is out of date. The problem is that the most recent changes have already been made, and that is revision 11. The last time I updated, I was revision 10. So what do I have to do? I have to update.
You have to update
Revision
yours.
11.
Yeah, and notice when I immediately get out of here, it says, well, why don't you try updating? So I go, okay, I'll update that right one. And it'll say, uh-oh, the files are in a conflicted state. This doesn't happen often, but I have to mention this. This is the headache.
Yeah.
If you ever get a headache from Subversion, this is the headache you're going to get. And
Okay.
that is when you have a conflict. Two people edited the exact same spot of the exact same file. How do you resolve that conflict? Once again, though, this doesn't happen often. Okay. It would seem it happens more, but it doesn't. So if I right-click this, I can go ahead and edit the conflicts, and it will pull up a little pane that has both of our changes here. Oh, is this actually going to load this in? Okay, this is kind of interesting.
Oh my lord.
Whoa.
Not that many windows should have opened
What
up,
are
I believe.
what are you doing? Oh, look at this. It's trying to compare it. Interesting. No, I don't want to. I don't want to open it up in here. I want to hold on. Let me. Okay, so I'm going to show you this in the text file because you probably don't want to do this in Word. It looks like. Let me pull it up again. Let me see what they're pulling up. It looks like they're pulling up the changes. Normally, what it'll do is it'll pull up both files and the differences between those two files. And so I know this is giving me a lot of files here, but notice it's got both of the changes. Notice here. This is actually this is showing with reversions. It's kind of interesting. I didn't realize I had this built into Word. Does it have the other one? Let's see here. No. All right. So let's say that we knew which file we wanted, the file that's in the repository or my file. I can just resolve the conflict and use the one in the repository, which is theirs, or I can choose mine.
Okay.
And that fixes it, saying I want my file, forget their file.
Okay.
So mine is my local file, theirs is their file, and I would just say, nope, don't worry about it, use mine, and this will resolve it. And I can
So
go ahead.
essentially it'll update everything except for your...
Well, I'm going to overrule their changes. So I'm going to say added a rule for Goombas, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know. It's much easier when you can see both. You'll see in a second. But notice here then, if I go ahead and... Actually, I guess I got them both open. If I go ahead and right-click now and SVN update. Here, remember, I saved mine over this one. It'll update that file. Take a moment because it's not sure what to do. Once again, guys, if this feels a little headachy, it won't happen often.
Okay, yeah.
So you just
But
gotta,
it's good to know because
Yeah, it's good
it
to know.
does happen.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you got the lead programmer working on some of your stuff.
Can you set the authority to like choose who's allowed to override?
I've never tried that before. Can't move. Let's just do this. I don't know why.
Because what if one person
Yeah.
doesn't agree with it? And they're like, no, I don't think you get the right. We should
I
use
think,
yours, choose mine
honestly,
Well, the thing is, the local copy should still exist, and then you can talk
I'm
it
going
out
to delete
like,
this.
you know...
Normally, you don't
as
have to
programmer.
delete this, but
Well,
Yeah, I honestly-
know some repository
We should
services allow
set
where
up
it's
some,
basically each person
controls
has to log
outside
into
of
the repository and
this
it's like
to say who
Hierarchy.
can do that.
yeah, there's a hierarchy and it automatically sets that up. Like
Basically, I'm going to say nobody has the authority to override anything.
Let me clean this up.
If that's the case, then we'll run into a lot of
I think it should
No,
probably,
because you're going to be working on different
it probably
files.
should be like
Everybody's going to be
deleted-
working on different.
He's not going to
deleted
let
each
us
So
work on the
there's
same
probably a lot
file.
of-
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with a group our size.
Well, look at it this way.
Here we go.
Even if you put the file down there,
Yeah.
will you have the authority to overwrite your own file while making changes to it?
You should.
Yeah, but you just said we can't overwrite files.
It should
No,
be,
I mean someone else's files.
Well, the thing is the property of ownership carried over into the repository?
I'm not sure. I'll have to take a look at
I
it.
don't think
With
it
Subversion usually says that you either have access to it or
That's
not.
the problem.
I'm
you
not
don't
sure if
have
you can-
some tag that
But
says-
what,
The read-only
Well,
versions.
either way, everybody should be working on
believe
different
Git has
stuff.
tags
But
like
even
that.
then,
I mean,
Once
If-
again,
let's
guys,
say I
it's not going to happen often that you have a
and
collision.
then I edit
Yeah,
that
it really
because
doesn't.
it's say a spreadsheet.
So notice
I
here,
change a pixel.
the files
So
should
I
be synced
edit
now.
that there.
I had to clean up the repository
Git has
because it looked like
tags.
Subversion got a little bit
Yeah.
weird there. But notice here we have one
If
foot
you
for the
upload it
Goomba
there,
here
you can't upload over
and
your
1
own
foot for the
file
Goomba here.
we'll
okay?
figure it out, Jerry. We'll figure it out.
So
We don't need to
So the big headache that you guys are going to run into here, that usually people run into when they're first using Subversion, is the workflow. So I'm going to draw a little picture on the board here, just to kind of show you how you kind of want to manage your changes here, okay? So the very first thing you need, right, you have the repo, okay? And you need a copy of the repo, okay? So the very first thing you're going to go ahead and do is check out the repository, and this creates your working copy. Okay? So we've done that, right? But that's always where you start. Once you have your own folder, I'm then going to go ahead, and before I make any changes, I'm going to update. Always update first. Always. Sorry about my handwriting, but always update first. That's the most important thing. Absolutely update first. If you don't, you'll get into conflicts more likely. After you update, then you go ahead and make your changes. And then you go ahead and commit. That's the workflow. So I update to begin with. I make my changes to my files. I commit, and you leave a message. Okay? And you just go, this is how you go round and round and round and round and round. Okay? But because of the times in which you're going to work on them, the files that you're going to work on, and even editing different parts of the same file, once again, it's very unlikely you're going to come up with conflicts. It doesn't happen very often. Okay? And what I can help you guys do is when you immediately set up your Unity project, I can help you guys actually set up the original repository with your project.
Okay.
But the repository should be your project, and inside your project, you should have folders for extraneous files. Let's keep in mind there's going to be a lot of people working on game elements, models,
Right.
things like that. You need
Right.
folders, and you want to save them here because this is a permanent copy synced across all the users that you can,
Okay.
do. So,
Great.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Josh. Anybody have any questions?
Makes sense to me. I just need to play around.
Is that it?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. You're our